know that we have many of our youth that are struggling with alienation, isolation, they're being discriminated against. They have a very difficult time with folks judging them and folks, unfortunately, making them feel very unwanted. And I think what we are as a city, if we're trying to define ourselves, if these 150 years that we've been in existence means anything, it's to say we accept everybody. And more than anything, this is a safe space. Santa Ana is a place where we'll protect your rights, we'll protect your interests, we'll protect your decisions, and that's the kind of community we are, and that's what we celebrate today. More specifically, I think what we do here is we fly the Pride flag, and we do that for the entire month of June. And we do it month-wide, and I think that I owe that all, and we owe that all to some advocates that have been very, very dedicated to doing that. Friends like Darren and Dave, and Desi Reyes and others who really fought really hard for these rights to be implemented here at the city. So I celebrate them. They're neighborhood leaders. They're all over town that have been strong advocates of our efforts. And LGBT Pride Month promotes equality and community while standing against discrimination and violence. This month is celebrated in honor of 1969 Stonewall riots, the beginning of the modern LGBT rights movement. The OC Pride works to unite and empower the LGBTQ community and celebrates the culture and the traditions. OC Pride provides a safe and supportive environment for the LGBTQ community, and the first OC Pride Festival was held here in Santa Ana in 1989. This year will be the 30th anniversary, so it's especially important for us to make sure that we're all out there. The festival will be on June 22nd, will feature live music and a parade in memory of Blaze Bernstein. And this year's festival, we're expecting more than 20,000 people to attend and to celebrate here in Santa Ana. So it's a great thing that it's held here. We're home to the parade, we're home to the celebration. People realize that, again, this is a community that embraces all of us, and so it's going to be a great event. Here to accept the certificate is Isadora Santos. She's the director of Pride OC. We want to thank her and her organization for their dedication to this community and supporting diversity within it. And I just want to say the celebration, the parade, it's an opportunity and it's symbolic of making sure that we all are out there standing together. You don't have to be LGBTQ to be part of the parade. You could be somebody who obviously celebrates that diversity, and I think that's the important thing. That's the point here of all this. So, Isadora, if you don't mind taking the floor and saying a couple of words and letting us know what we're going to expect this weekend.
Sure, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Councilman, for presenting us with this proclamation. I'm very honored to represent OC LGBT Pride here today. This is our Pride Week. Our Pride Festival is this Saturday on June 22nd, as was just mentioned. We are so excited to celebrate our 30th year of doing this festival here. We have an interesting history. OC Pride started here about 30 years ago, and it was almost shut down, and so it's nice to see being recognized by city councils and other cities within our county to see how far we've come with our relationship with the community. So we highly encourage everyone to come out to our event, whether you identify as LGBTQ or not. Well, we'd love to see you come by, get to know us, see our diversity, come enjoy all the performances and all the entertainment that we have lined up. We have a family fun zone, so it's absolutely family-friendly event. We also have a concert that goes on in the evening, hosted at the Yost Theater. We have so much going on, something for everybody, so we absolutely welcome everyone. And this week, throughout the city and within the county, we have many different events, tonight being our drag bingo event. Tomorrow we have dance night at Velvet Lounge. Thursday is our screening of Tu Wong Fu at the Frida Cinema in downtown Santa Ana. And then Friday we have another event at Velvet Lounge.
Good evening. I would like to call the Planning Commission meeting of June 24th, 2019 to order. Will the Secretary please take roll?
Commissioner Benavides, Commissioner Rivera,
Present.
Commissioner Alderetti, Vice Chair Contreras-Leo, Chair McLaughlin,
Here.
Commissioner Kano, Commissioner Nguyen.
Here.
Chair, for the record, Commissioner Alderetti and Commissioner Kano will not be attending tonight's meeting. You do have quorum.
Thank you. Will you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Hand over your heart. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll have public comments at this time. Does a member of the public have public comments on a non-agendized item? If you do, please fill out a card and speak at this time. You'll have 3 minutes. I have one card for non-agenda items. It's Dale Halvick.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. First off, I want to say thank you for the commissioners that have met with the Park Santiago neighborhood in trying to address the 2525 project. And I was going to ask the commissioners that I haven't met with if they would talk to Sarah and set up an appointment. But I guess I'm hoping Mr. Benavides will be able to set up an appointment with Sarah so he can sit down and talk with the residents of Park Santiago in the next couple of weeks. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dale. Does anyone wish to speak on a non-agendized item at this point in time? If not, public comments are closed. We'll now move to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from June 10th, 2019?
So moved. Second.
Okay, well, you so moved and you second.
Got
Good.
it.
All right, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's 5-0, 2 absent, Cano and Alderetti. We now have can we get a motion to excuse the absence of Cano and Alderetti?
So moved.
Second? Second from Cynthia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved, 5-0, 2 absent, Cano and Alderetti. We'll now move to the business calendar. The formal action of the Planning Commission shall become effective after the 10-day appeal period unless the City Council holds a public hearing on the matter. Then the formal action will become effective on the day following the hearing and the decision by the City Council. An appeal from the decision or requirement of the Planning Commission must be filed to the Clerk of the Council and a copy sent to the Planning Department within 10 days of the date of the Commission's actions. The appeal may be made by any interested party, individual, or group. Move on to the business calendar. Now is the time to consider item number 1, conditional use permit number 2019-20 for the property located at 2210 North Grand Avenue. Please note that any decisions on this matter are final unless appealed within 10 days of the decision by any interested party or group. Does anybody in the Planning Commission wish to make any comment on to whether or not they've had anything disclosed to them or talked to anybody? No? All right. Go ahead. Pedro.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. As stated, this is an application request for conditional use permit number 2019-20 to renew the entitlements of an existing wireless facility at 2210 North Grand Avenue. As mentioned, this is a renewal of an existing major wireless facility. The particular facility was built back in 2008. It's approximately 60 feet in height and is disguised as a monopine. Currently, the facility as well as the property complies with the Santa Ana Municipal Code regulations. It's in good condition, and at this time, no alterations are being proposed to the actual wireless facility. The project site is located at the southwest corner of Grand Avenue in Santa Clara, surrounded by single-family residential properties to the west, multifamily to the north, and commercial uses to the north, east, and south of the property. This is a site plan of the location is tucked away towards mid-block of the particular property. It's somewhat hidden, so it's not visible from the street. With that, staff is recommending that the Plan Commission approve conditional use permit number 2019-20 as conditioned. After speaking with staff as well as the applicant, staff is recommending that condition number 8 be removed as part of this application. And that concludes my presentation. Feel free to answer any questions.
Any questions of staff?
Looking up condition 8, but if you can state that, remind us what that condition states, that would be helpful.
Condition number 8 is a condition that has been imposed on newer projects in the past couple of months. It's pretty much requiring a maintenance agreement. After speaking with code enforcement, staff further analyzed this particular condition, and there's no need for this condition to be imposed at this particular property or project.
And what's the rationale behind that?
The rationale for removing it or for the condition?
Removing the condition. I'm assuming it's on this specific CP. It's
So a couple of the past projects that we brought forward have been newer development, and so we've been imposing this condition on those projects. This particular project, the facility was built back in 2008 and has been in good condition since then. We also have additional language in the Santa Ana Municipal Code that would allow the city to enforce it if necessary in order to assure that the property is well maintained.
Thank you. I may have a question a bit later, but that's for now.
Cynthia?
So you're saying it's number 1 on the conditions of approval?
Condition number 8.
Number 8.
Oh, number 8. Okay. So you're basically saying it's not needed because now the city has the ability to enforce it when they need to, and it doesn't need to be here?
We have provisions in the municipal code that help us enforce on this stuff.
Thank you.
And if I may add, this is a little bit different because the only property that's really accessible to the public is the perimeter landscaping. At least I mentioned, we have code provisions that cover landscaping. The rest of it is a private, secured Edison site that no one can access it. So there really is no reason to have a property maintenance agreement on that property because no one's ever going to go in there. The ones that you have seen that were mentioned, they're retail centers where you go into the parking lot, they have trees, landscaping, public spaces throughout the entire project. So that makes sense to have a property maintenance agreement on it when people are going to access it all the time. In this case, the only thing we're ever going to see is the perimeter. Never get inside the property.
So some of the conditions that I was reading have language like restrooms and things like that. That's just
Not-
common in everything.
Right, not
even
applicable,
though
right.
it doesn't
It's
apply.
purely an Edison substation,
like,
unmanned, yes.
Like, wow, I didn't know they had bathrooms now. Okay, thank you.
So are we, at this point in time, are all the CUPs requiring a maintenance agreement, other than the ones that are specified like tonight?
That's correct.
So it's a matter of, it's more or less built into the CUP process at this point in time, and then we extract it based on the application like tonight it's being, okay,
Right, case by case basis, yeah.
okay. Any other questions of Jerry? David?
Yeah, sure. I thank you, Mr. Chair. The one question, and the reason that I had a specific question with regard to maintenance agreement, and I understand the fact that this is different in nature than others that we've seen. It's isolated, the location of the monopine and such. The one question I have is with, these are 10-year agreements, that's what's being proposed right here today. So 10 years, so I'm not so much concerned about the maintenance of the property as much as of the monopine, the structure itself. This one is a little bit further away removed from the right-of-way and from visibility, although you see it some. However, I'm just thinking about deterioration over time. We'd be talking 2 decades, by the time this begins to sunset, we're talking 2 decades since it would have been constructed. Every so often you see some of the faux branches on some of these fall or the dilapidation and such. So that's more than anything my concern or my question is, how do we ensure that these don't become deteriorated and are an eyesore, and once we've agreed to its approval, then the community is sort of stuck with it because we're not seeing it again for another 10 years, for another decade. So can you address how we
Sure, of course.
monitor and enforce that?
And that's covered under condition number 2, which talks about the facility shall be maintained per approved plans. And then the plans that you have there shows the specs on the not palm fronds, but on the monopine branches. And then that gives us the ability to go out there and go after the fronds, or the branches if they start getting deteriorated, any landscape starts dying. Anything goes on with that site, that number 2 is our catch-all condition that covers all that. And we've had a lot of experience with these type of facilities. It takes a lot to really wear them down. So 10 years has still been in pretty good shape. This is one of them you can see in the picture, kind of, the distance away, but it's still in pretty good shape.
Right.
So that condition 2 will cover you.
Okay.
So we have the same concern as well.
Okay.
But either way, in respect to that, it's still a code enforcement type follow-up to making
Yes.
sure that it's maintained, it maintains its.
If branches start falling off, we
Yeah.
see it, we let code
That's
enforcement
code
know.
enforcement. So, I mean, the fact is that, I mean, maybe what David might not be aware of is that we also changed the CUP process, a year and a half ago, to where it used to be 5 years renewal of CUP for the wireless tower. Now it's 10 years, just to cut down on the amount of paperwork and activity that we were doing, because we were doing probably, before that, we probably did 1 or 2 CUPs a meeting
Yeah.
on wireless towers. Now we've done them 1 in 6 months.
And because of all that federal law change that says we have to do a 10-year minimum.
Right.
Because all cities were grinding these applicants so much that they were able to change the
Right.
law, the guidelines to make it 10 years. So,
Right.
but we do have the condition that addresses the maintenance of it. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Jerry? Ken?
I was just wondering, under the section 41-198-13, that all major wireless communication facilities shall be approved for a period of not to exceed 10 years. The last CUP was issued on May 5th, 2008, so it's a little bit more than 10 years on this. Why the applicant didn't start it a year ago, instead of wait till they expire, actually under current time and exceed 10 years, then reapply it for new CUP.
So normally, we don't keep track of the facilities that are going to expire. The way we catch these are when the applicant comes in and proposes an alteration. So when the time comes and they're trying to alter the site, that's when we'll review the actual entitlements to assure that it hasn't lapsed. In this case, the applicant came in knowing that it was about to expire, so they submitted an actual application before that.
Thank you.
They applied before it expired. It just takes time to get it through the process.
Okay.
So we give them a grace. If they turn the application in, it's considered the application is in. We just got to take our time to do our work.
Thank you.
So Jerry's correct in that.
Okay, anything else for Jerry? Okay, great, thanks, Jerry. All right, Madam Secretary, have we received any written communication on this item?
We have not.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing at this point in time. I have one card. John Dietrich.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is John Dietrich with Core Development Services, representative for Crown Castle. I don't have too much to add to what staff has covered in the presentation. There's no proposed changes to the existing equipment on the facility, aside from minor upgrades to the landscaping around the perimeter, and some additional branching to fill in is actually a part of the current proposal. So those are, we hope to continue to foster goodwill with the city and the community, and we support the removal of condition number 8 as well. Other than that, I'm open to answering any questions that you may have.
Cynthia?
Just out of curiosity, in the last 10 years, did you have the need to upgrade any of the equipment that was there?
I'm not precisely familiar with the history of the modifications. I know there's one carrier there that is a tenant for Crown Castle. I think it's T-Mobile. I would assume they probably have done a few modifications in that 10-year period.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Hey, David?
So follow-up question, just to clarify, my understanding that you are planning, as part of this process, planning to make some improvements to the landscape itself in the perimeter, and then also infill the branches of the monopine itself? Is that?
Yeah, I think the planning department had asked us to add a little bit of branching when we came through, and so that's identified in the plans to kind of increase the density of it.
Okay, that's helpful. That's good. Good job, Steph. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Any other person that would like to speak at this point in time with regards to the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and we'll come back to the commission. Does the commission have any other comments, or would we like to make a motion on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution, the planning commission, 2019-20 as condition.
Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and, based on the input and the staff requiring some of, calling some of these upgrades and the applicant agreeing and following through with that, I'll please with that, and I'll second.
Your second, David?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. So we have 5-0 with Cano and Alderetti absent. Now is the time and place to consider item number 2, conditional use permit number 2019-19 and variance number 2019-02 for the property located at 1800 North Bush Street. Please note any decisions on this matter are final unless appealed within 10 days of the decision by an interested party or group. If you wish to address the Planning Commission, please fill out a card. Does any of the commissioners have anything to disclose at this point in time on this item? Hearing none. Selena, it's yours.
Good evening, Chair McLaughlin and members of the Planning Commission. Tonight before us we have a conditional use permit to operate an adult daycare along with a variance to allow a reduction in off-street parking. The subject property is located at 1800 North Bush. It is located within a general plan designation of district center and a zoning designation of professional, which is intended for professional office buildings and other similar uses. We'll go over the surrounding uses with the aerial photo and the existing development standards with some site pictures as well. So here you can see the site location from an aerial view. It is east of Main Street and north of 17th Street, just at the corner of 18th and Bush, highlighted in red. And here you can see just some of the surrounding properties and their zoning. So although there are residential uses to the north, east, and south of the project, they are zoned professionally, and there is a commercial use just to the west, which is zoned commercial, and it's a car wash. And here are some site photos. It's an existing two-story office building that was constructed in the 80s. So the top picture would be a view looking, if you're standing in the parking lot of the building entrance, towards Bush Street, and then the other image is taken from standing on 18th Street looking north at the building. So the project is intending to reoccupy a currently vacant building, does have one office tenant here on the second floor. The primary point of entrance for this is off Bush Street, where you would have through circulation around the site with the loading zone, which is highlighted in red towards the top of the screen. And the shaded area is just the building footprint. So again, all existing conditions. It's a 10,000 square foot office with 30 on-street parking spaces. So here we have the first floor plan, which is intended for the adult daycare. And I'm briefly just going to describe what an adult daycare is, if you may be asking that. It's essentially, we are all somewhat familiar with a child care facility where you would be dropping off, children during the day to be supervised and then picked up at night. So it's that. However, it's for persons that are 18 and older. And in this particular application, it's the senior population. So those that are elderly that may need some care services that would be dropped off in the morning and picked up in the evening, no overnight stays. So that's intended for the first floor. There would be interior tenant improvements, including construction of new offices, an elevator, restrooms, a kitchen area, and then the area that's shown in the shaded area in red is the multi-purpose activity area, which could be programmed in different ways with tables and chairs or seating areas for different activities. The operations of the adult daycare are intended for a maximum of 40 participants, and then based on that participant rating and state standards, that would require a total of 8 staff members on site. And that would be typically a program director, a registered nurse, a social worker, activity coordinator, and program aides. And then throughout the week, there would be different services provided, such as on Mondays, the physical therapist comes. On Tuesdays, the occupational therapist comes. On Wednesdays, there's a nutritionist, etc. And then on the second floor, it's proposed to remain as professional office uses, so a tax accountant, a lawyer, etc. And then here we just have some more information in regards to the operations of the facility. So again, the target population is for older persons, with the primary objective being that they are able to restore self-care or maintain self-care, and to prevent them from having to attend or be enrolled in a nursing home or a permanent long-term care facility. So it would be assisting families and caregivers by offering a place for them to be supervised during the day. And the services that are provided on site, which I briefly went over, would be intended to promote social, emotional, and physical well-being of the individuals that are attending. There is a separate state license that would be obtained from the California Department of Aging, Community-Based Adult Services, which has its own screening and vetting process separate from the city. And again, service would include daily scheduled activities, and then ancillary nursing, physical, occupational, speech therapy, etc. And just to reiterate, there is no overnight care, 24-hour care, so it is not a nursing home or a place where people would be on site 24 hours a day. So here we have the breakdown of the code requirements for an adult daycare facility and an office use. So based on our code requirements for an adult daycare, requires 1 parking space for every 200 square feet of activity area and 1 parking space for each supervisor. So the adult daycare would be required to have 29 parking spaces, and the office use based on the square footage would be 12 spaces. A total of 41 spaces would be required, while only 30 spaces are provided on site, which requires the variance again for 11 parking spaces. Just want to also reiterate here that with these services, approximately 90% of the people attending the facility are transported there via a non-medical, so not an ambulance, but a transportation service where they would pick them up at their homes and bring them here and take them back. So that's 90%. The other 10% would be transported by their family members, their primary caregivers, where they would be dropped off during a scheduled time in the morning and in the evening. Also, to support the parking variance, a parking analysis was conducted of a similar facility in size and in operations, and parking counts were taken from during business hours, so 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. of this facility during weekday conditions, and observed a parking rate of 0.2 parking spaces for each participant. So that came to 8 parking spaces. Plus, we allowed for an additional 8 parking spaces for each staff member, which makes sense. Each staff would have a vehicle coming to the site, plus 8 for any drop-offs, pickups, and participants that may be driving, and then the office use. So with the parking analysis, it came to a parking demand of 28 spaces, where there's 30 on site, so there should be around a surplus of 2 spaces based on this, the transportation, and the code requirements. So in regards to the CUP and the variance, both have conditions of approval, which were included with the resolutions. I'm just going to highlight a few of the ones that go along with what I've described for their operations to make sure that they're in the future operating as they have explained to us and as the plans make sense. So the first one is to limit the number of participants and staff members on site at one time. So it's limited to 40 participants and 8 staff members. The second is to require transportation service for drop-off and pickup So they would have to provide written documentation to us of the transportation company that they will be contracting with for drop-offs and pickups. Require a drop-off and pickup schedule to manage peak times so that not everyone gets there at 8 a.m. and that's when all the drop-offs are happening and could have overflow into the street. They would be spaced in approximately 10-minute increments to have drop-offs and pickup as needed. Also, we thought it would be helpful if they provide parking lot signage to clearly distinguish between the uses. So each stall would be designated as needed for the office, for staff, for the adult daycare, for drop-off and pickup. Provide a parking management plan, which will just memorialize all of these conditions as well and make sure we have time to review that before certificate of occupancy. And I forgot to mention in the earlier presentation that they are intending to paint and stucco as needed, kind of repair the building as needed, and install new landscaping as needed as part of the project. And the last condition of the property maintenance agreement. So with that, that concludes staff presentation tonight. If you have any questions of staff, I did want to note that we did receive one comment letter that was distributed as part of the staff report. And staff has received one phone call just requesting information on what is an adult daycare facility. And the applicant is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Selena. Anybody have a question? Cynthia?
Hi, Selena. Around the site, it's a neighborhood, it's housing. Are they apartments or homes?
So here with the aerial image, to the north is a home, to the east are homes, and to the south is multifamily apartments.
Okay, and the hours of operation are 8 or 7 to, I don't remember.
The hours of operation,
I think you said 8 to 6?
I don't recall in particular for the,
Drop-off is from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Yeah,
that
so
was-
8 to 6 was the
So
operating hours.
7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. And
Yeah.
is the time
Well-
7:30 to 6?
well, hang
If
on.
it is, I have more questions.
Yeah. Do you have, Selena?
Yeah.
Then let's, if we can't get
So
an
we'll have the
answer by
applicant
Selena,
confirm
then
the
we'll move on to
times.
the applicant, okay.
Okay.
So let's, so, go ahead.
So what was the percent again of the clients that are being dropped off?
90.
19%?
90.
90%?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How many, when you're talking about the parking, about how many spaces are being looked at are they being looked at to reserved on the street for off, on the street, or
So-
that's where you're getting the extra parking from?
No, so everything, for every project that we review is on-site parking. We don't go out to street parking. Everything needs to be provided on-site. So this site has 30 parking spaces. They are asking for a variance per the code. So per the code, they do need an additional 11 spaces, but with the support of the traffic study and transportation services, staff is supportive of a parking variance, not intending to use street parking.
Okay, so where are they gonna get the 11 other spots from?
They're not going to get 11.
So it's, okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions of Selena?
Very quickly.
Ken?
Does the applicant secure the license from State of California Department of Aging yet?
They, I believe, submitted their application, but they have not completed the process. They can speak to where they're at in it, but sometimes it requires also the city approvals in order to finalize.
Thank you.
One question I had was, is this the first facility that we've had in Santa Ana that's an adult daycare center?
No, but there are not very many. We did adopt the ordinance in 2000, the year 2000, to establish a definition and a parking standard, and I believe we've had less than 5 since then.
Yeah, I know one on West First Street, 4700 block of West First Street. I think it's in conjunction with a Buddhist temple down there. So that's the only one.
That's the only one.
That's the one that comes to my mind, because it's permitted in a commercial zone. This is a P zone, which needs a CUP for this one. So if I
We
recall.
have one more.
One more.
We have 2 with CUPs in the city, I know that I've researched,
Okay.
and then some that were prior grandfathered in.
Okay. Any, Felix?
Yeah, I have a question. Is that apartments right off of Bush on the east side? Is that the issue with the parking, or is that more professional, like more businesses, or?
To the east is residential. It is zoned professional, but there are residential uses of the property.
So is that the issue with like the parking on the street?
So the street parking, yes, there are vehicles that use Bush Street to park. It could be anything from commercial or professional businesses to residential uses that are utilizing the street.
Thank you.
I guess the one question I have is, has this been reviewed by fire and PD? Just because, I mean, it is a completely fenced-in facility, number one, and you're going to be bringing in probably small buses and other types of transportation, and they're going to be able to get around that parking lot and service whatever needs, including ambulances if they have to have ambulances.
Yes, so it was reviewed as part of our development review process prior to this by Building and Safety, Fire, and Police. And in order to get to Planning Commission, we have approval from them to move forward, just because otherwise we wouldn't want them to not be able to operate, like you're saying.
Okay. Any other questions to Selena? Okay, thank you, Selena. Madam Secretary, have we received any written communication on this item?
There was one, and that was included in the packet. Other than that, there has been no other written communication.
Okay. At this point in time, I'd like to open up the public hearing. Would the applicant like to speak at this moment?
Yeah, good. Thank you so much. Good evening, Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. My name is George Benham. I'm the architect of the project. And before I say anything, I just want to thank very much the planning staff. They have been very helpful, very helpful. And I'm here to answer any of your questions. And I'm quite sure that I discussed it with the applicant, the owners, and they are in total agreement of all these conditions. They will comply with all these conditions.
Okay.
No reservations.
Does anyone have any questions of George? Yeah, Cynthia?
Does the applicant have other adult daycares in the county or anywhere?
Actually, to my knowledge, this is the first one. They have medical offices. They have other facilities in other cities, but this is the first one they do for daycare.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Ken?
What I understand, the California Department of Aging have stopped issue new license for adult daycare facility for about 5 years ago. Do you aware of that, or are they reissued a new license? Or?
Actually, the person who can answer this question better than me is behind me, and he can come in.
Come on up.
You can come up, please.
Yeah.
Good evening, Chairman. Good evening, Commission. I wanted to first answer your question.
Okay.
And basically, there was a moratorium on these types of services, and it was lifted about 1.5 years ago.
good.
And now there's currently about 420 facilities in California who are trying to acquire this type of ADHD service, because the state understands that there's a huge need for the aged population. And I also wanted to speak a little and answer one of the other questions about the office hours and center hours. The center hours, when we provide the services, are usually between 8 and 2 p.m. And like the young lady said, that they would be dropped off at the facility and picked up. Once the participants leave at 3 p.m., then the office hours usually are only when the staff members are there till about 5 or 6 p.m. So there's only going to be 8 parking spots after 3 p.m. being used.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant at this point in time? David? No? Okay. Yeah? Yes?
Sure. My name is Luis Baca, and I'm an adult day healthcare facility. I've worked on 40 adult day healthcare facilities in Southern California and currently have 10 active applications at the state level.
Okay. Any other questions of Luis or George? Hearing none, we will move on with the rest of the hearing, and I only have 2 cards from YouTube, so we're done.
Thank you
With
so
that,
much.
The public
Thank you.
hearing is now closed,
Thank you.
Thank you.
and we'll bring it back to the commission. Would anybody like to make a comment or make a motion on this item?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve conditional use permit number 2019-19 and variance number 2019-02.
Okay, second from Cynthia? All right. Any other further discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that's 5-0, 0 abstentions, 2 absent, Cano and Alderetti. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will now move on to comments. Staff, do you have any comments?
2, this is a follow-up to the presentation by Andrea last meeting about the outreach and training. If you have any interest, let us know. We do have funds in our budget for you to do some funding to pay for
That's
this
in
training.
July?
The first one's in July, and then the other one she mentioned was
October?
the October one at the Nixon Library, the Commissioners planning the forum. Yeah,
Okay.
the planning forum. That's number 1. Number 2, you may have noticed already, July 8th has been canceled.
Yes.
You have no item on the agenda, so next meeting will be July 22nd, and we're tentatively targeting the 2525 project for that meeting. It'll be the only public hearing item on the agenda if it does go forward at that time, and we'll be sure that you have some nourishment beforehand. So it could be a long meeting again.
Make
The
sure
answer-
David has
The neighborhood
cookies.
says yes, it'll be a long meeting.
Yeah, David wanted cookies last time, remember?
We're gonna go bigger than cookies.
Going bigger?
Yeah,
All right.
we're gonna go actually, yeah.
Go big or go home.
Prime rib, twice baked
All right, there
potatoes,
you
and,
go. There you go.
and lobster. No, not that big? Okay, I'll take that back.
I think it ought to be in the stadium, though.
There you go.
Anyway, so Sarah and I will be sure that you're taken care of before the meetings. I know it could be a long meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. David, any comments?
Just a brief comment. We had one of the items that we discussed, the cell tower. I appreciate staff's diligence in requiring improvements in the surrounding. Ultimately, when we're looking at CUPs or any type of project change, is a condition because it'll bring some type of impact to the neighborhood, to the community, to the city, and requiring both property maintenance agreements, requiring and ensuring that there are upgrades, ultimately requiring quality for our city, for residents is something that is it's a positive thing, and it's to be. I think our community deserves and should expect that. So appreciate staff looking out for our residents and our community by something as simple as monopine. Adding some of those things can be look pretty not very pleasing aesthetically. So the fact that you would even take that level of detail and require improvements and trying to make it more like a full tree for a resident who lives here, takes pride in our city, and charged with looking out for our community. I appreciate that. Just want to make that comment. Thank you.
Felix? Cynthia?
I'm interested in the July training, but if not, I can't make October's.
I'll reach out to Ms. Gladson and just get that more details on. I think it's a lunch meeting down in probably in Tustin, in coordination with the Planning Director Association. So I'll get that for you.
Yeah, you could sign me up for that too. Ken? You have no comments, okay. I have a couple of comments and questions. One was that I understand that the applicant appealed our request for the 7-Eleven with regards to having extra security. So where are we at with that, and what?
That is correct. I think he applied at 4:59 on that last Thursday where he could do it. So the zone change was scheduled for the July 2nd City Council. That's been pulled. And we're going to take...
It has been pulled.
It has been pulled. We're going to take everything in one package to the city council. So it's July 16th. July 16th, they'll get the appeal and the zone change all and the variance all together.
Okay. All right. Any, one other comment is that, just to give David a little hard time, you know, the last person that was in your seat, they used to just go all over the wireless, you know, projects that we put in front. So, I mean, it must be the chair. I don't, chair of the location that gets you into wireless, but for sure that was the situation. Anyway, with that, since we're not going to meet on the 8th, we'll just say happy 4th of July. Hopefully everybody has a safe and sane 4th of July. And we will adjourn our meeting to July 22nd, 2019. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know, and we started late too. Don't go crazy though. It'll soon be up. Yeah. Yeah. Al will make sure we pay the next meeting.
We'll have something in the back at 5 o'clock set up. We come in a little early.
Cooking them up.
Do we shut this down?
Come out of that 3.1 million. I just didn't see those edits in the staff report, but I just wanted to make sure that those were in there in the because you added those, correct?
Yes, Councilmember Penaloza, on page 2, the middle of the page, the last bullet is your increase, and Julie is very excited to have from 150,000 to 175,000 for the anniversary. And then on page 3 of the staff report is where we talk about engaging the Youth Commission to program that 3.1 million, and we do have listed there, we captured what we heard your comments to be, to program youth services including teen space, tutoring for all school-age children, summer internships,